Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Our presentation is with Will Seippel, the founder and CEO of WorthPoint. He's going to share with us his top tips for using the WorthPoint Vault. The Vault is an awesome feature for subscribers, and I use it for my treasures as well, and I can't wait to see how Will is going to share it with us.
Thanks, Dana. For those of you that have followed me for some period of time or follow the progress of WorthPoint, I've gotten a lot of suggestions, and I've talked for years about how we're going to go into a second phase of WorthPoint. This includes things like visual recognition and a consumer-based product. For some of you that want to use this for an event of a value in the state, or just to keep track of a few things in your house and things as they come up, you've asked for a lower priced consumer product. And I'm excited to say that is close to the horizon, if not on the horizon. And we plan to launch that in June of 2021. So that is now in 11 months. And the neat thing about that is it's going to be focused around your house and things around your house, and pricing a certain amount of items for each month. And what we have today is just, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much in our site, and it's way more than most homeowners need. And it's not quite tailored to the business person. It's not quite tailored to the homeowner. So we plan to split these products out over the next year, and in June of 2021 we will launch a consumer product that's focused around a vault and keeping your items safe. I like to say it's like a Simply Safe for your home. So here I am on the WorthPoint home page, and you can see the traditional layout that we have, and we change these items on the front every so often. But going to your map bar up here, these first three items cover our first three databases. We have our price guide, which is what we're known about. People speak of the price guide as a Worthopedia. In reality, the Worthopedia is the whole site. But our price guide with billions of images and over 500 million items. Our maps, which is our marks, autograph patterns, and symbols, and their clues that you have on an item to help you determine who made it and when it was made. We have our library that's growing with thousands of books that we have employees just focused on building our library now and clearing copyrights. A dictionary that combines everything together that we just launched, and I'm kind of excited about that product, but you can go in here and find out all kinds of things about your item, and it's our version of the Wikipedia, but it's focused on the worth of items and helping you identify them. And last but not least, we have this item over here called the Vault. And the Vault is pretty exciting to me. This is a beta product. It's what we're going to talk about today, but it's where I'm starting to keep my household items. So we can go into my Vault, and you can hear the door of the Vault open. And you start seeing items that I have in my house and what I'm keeping in here. And it really all begins with the tag manager on the Vault. And that, because I keep items in categories. And I keep items in furniture, I keep items in smoking and alcohol. And those of you that know, I like to have a beer every once in a while. And so we have what's called a tag manager, where you can create your own folders where you keep things in. And with the toolbar up here, and this is going to go through a lot of change over the coming months. So I say get on here and see all the fun we're having in here. And that if I go to my Vault items, then you start getting an idea of what I'm putting in here. And the thing that's neat to me as I go through here is I want to keep track of the items in my household. And I realize that I'm not going to be here forever, and I want to do things with stuff in my house. I may even decide to put my inventory in here. And so I start keeping different folders for where I want to put things. And you can start seeing the folders here where I share collections and I put them into collections. So we're going to delve into a collection here and talk about it and talk about how I do things. Militaria. Militaria sounds like a strange term, but it's actually how you refer to things that were used in war with the military. And one of my favorite items in here, and this is where I talk about the importance of keeping things together and documenting them. This is a Civil War portrait of, oh gosh, I think he's my great-great-grandfather. I have it in Ancestry, and we'll open the folder in a minute. But he came here from Germany, or back then it was called Prussia, or Austro-Hungary, to fight in the Civil War and get his citizenship. And this is most likely a colored photograph, a painted photograph, but of him in his uniform. And here is a service medal that he received from the federal government and his poppy as a veteran from the Civil War. And this is a silver unit crest that would probably go on a kepi or something. Now, I haven't figured out the total relationship of this item to the painting, but this actually was not his, but he had it with his possessions. And it's with a fellow soldier that was with the 54th New York Duryea Zouaves, as you can see down here in Duryea Zouaves. And this is an interesting unit that about 80% of the men were killed in the Battle of Second Manassas, killed or wounded. And back then, a wound was similar to being killed pretty much. But, and it says to F.J. Elner, Duryea Zouaves. And this was a friend of his, and I haven't pieced together how that relationship, I can find him in the New York papers from the time and doing my research, but I'm not sure the total relationship. But I say, and I put in my notes here, because I can't remember this from my parents, and I want to leave this for my children. And it says, my second great-grandfather, Francis Joseph Kohlberger, he fought in several New York regiments, including the 54th German Black Rifles and the 5th New York Zouaves under different names. And I'm going to have to change this because I don't think it's his Zouave cross. But at the time when I filled this out, I thought it was his, but it belongs to a friend. But I was able to find out a lot of his personal history, and he was a saloon keeper and beer distributor in New York, which fits in for me because I like to drink beer. But this will be saved for my fellow generations, my kids, but I'm going to have to update this description a little bit, but it's real easy to do. And I could actually show you here that we could go here and edit it and go right in and change the description. But it's like poof, and it will be saved. I put in an estimated value. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I have that stored in my house, and you can even store on here what room it's in your house. It's pretty cool. Or we're bringing in the feature as to, do you want to leave this to somebody in your family? Who do you want to leave it to? Or if I wanted to sell it, I could click it and move it to an auction house. Zouave items are very, very popular. For those of you that don't know what a Zouave is, it's a military group with the uniforms fashioned after the fancy French uniforms of the period, and they actually make great targets to shoot at. So I'm not sure I'd want to wear a Zouave uniform. But he does, you can see I think that's a feather up here, but the officers are a little more subdued. The enlisted men would wear pantaloons that were often brightly colored, and red was often featured. So you did make a good target. I also have in here some things that belonged to his son, who was in the New York National Guard, but can't find that he served in the Civil War. Often it's hard when doing research on Civil War soldiers to find the exact things at all. A lot of the records have been digitized, but name spellings have been changed. Or in the case I found of my relative, he changed his name once or twice in subtle variations to re-enlist and get bonuses and second pensions. But here are medals that were his. I don't know what went in the center of this. You can see again the name Kohlberger, and these are service medals that are actually in gold that he received for his annual renewal in the National Guard and with high levels of participation. And this is kind of cool, and they did not give out many of these, and I've documented in the descriptions. But this is for 20 years of faithful service, as it says here, and you had to have certain attendance records and things. But it's actually a solid gold medal that was made by Tiffany with diamonds in the middle, and it's signed by Tiffany on the back. And only several thousand of these were given out. And I've documented his name on the sword, Captain Charles Kohlberger, which he is the son of Francis. And it's neat because, again, you can go on to Ancestry.com and keep your Ancestry account updated and link these back to the people in your family tree. And it will mean a lot for your children, hopefully. So in here, I've written the story. This was awarded to my great uncle, Captain Charles Kohlberger, for the 20 years of service in the New York National Guard, with at least 85% participation. About 2,500 of the medals presented for this class, 2 medals, and they were produced by Tiffany and are 14 karat gold. They are framed with some of the other medals and gold service bars, blah, blah, blah. So you can see what I'm trying to do here is keep these for my relatives into the family tree. So that's kind of fun. We haven't gotten Ancestry to agree to work with us to tie it all together, but maybe that will happen someday. And
now, can you link that to Ancestry? Like if you, I've never used the Ancestry account before, but I'm just wondering if on your account, can you link that
you know, I probably could. Actually, that's a good question, Dana. And there's things you can put in the public space on Ancestry where I could put his portrait onto Ancestry, or probably the medals. And on the other hand, I can probably hyperlink in that description. If not, we'll add it as a feature back to Ancestry.
Great.
That's a really cool idea. And to me, all these items that you put in here are not necessarily have to be valuable. I call these art, so typically art has some value, but these are paintings that are in my house. And as I was telling you, as I researched these, Dana, using the WorthPoint site, this is a painting that I have in my office, and I never knew quite who it was by, and my brother bought it in a country auction down in the Shenandoah Valley when we lived in Virginia. And we've had it in the family for eons, but I was trying to figure out who signature this was. And I did a search on WorthPoint for an Aquitania, which is the name of the ship, as you can see up here. And you can see it's old, it's crazed. And the signature down here, and it turns out, and I was like, how could there be other paintings exactly like that? And sometimes artists would paint a portrait of a ship and try to sell it to different people that either were officers on the ship or the owners. So Antonio Jacobson was known for doing that, one of the famous American nautical painters. So these guys were like anybody else, trying to make a buck as quick as they could. But in this case, Frederick Hortz, he actually had prints of this painting done and then would paint over them. So it's kind of like by paint by numbers. So I don't know where or if there is an original of this. I don't think this is one. And it really diminished what I thought the value was. of this. If this was a one-off original oil painting, I think it would be worth $2,000 to $5,000. But it's a painting over a print is what I'm guessing it is. And I bought it for about $200 with my brother years ago, decades ago, and it's probably worth about $500 today. But I have the whole story in there, so my kids will know where all this stuff came from someday. This was another painting I like. My house isn't the Louvre because I don't have that budget, but I try to buy nice artwork. This is a primitive of Rebecca by the well from the biblical passage. And that it's kind of a folk art, somebody that was actually a decent folk artist. The style's pretty good, but her feet are a little big. And I note that this is a late 18th century painting of Rebecca at the well, found in my barn in New Hampshire in a piano crate. I lived in a really old house there, and somebody had taken this, it was ripped, and just threw it in the piano crate, and I found it when I was moving in. So that was kind of a fun story. But, you know, I think it's really neat to keep your emotions and everything where you found things and what it means to you, why you have it in your house. My great-grandfather was a bay pilot on the Chesapeake Bay, meaning he was a captain of a ship and piloted in commercial vessels. And that he had this in his office, I guess it reminded him of some of his contemporaries sitting in a dory or a small sailboat on the Chesapeake Bay, smoking pipes and telling stories with their Tam O'Shanter hats on. And so this has been in my house forever. It's a nice painting. Unfortunately, it's not signed. And so I assigned an approximate value to it. Now, what I think is important to underscore about WorthPoint is not everything has to be valuable that you put in your vault. And I try to put things in here that are family, that are significant, and I'm going to end up probably documenting everything in my house. But this is funny, but it's a good bottle opener. But it's a bottle opener I keep from my bed because I was too lazy to necessarily go try to find a bottle opener to open a beer when I was lying down in bed and trying to have a beer at the end of the day. And you can see here that it's called a John Wright, which I don't know why, but in 1947, I have a friend by the name of John Wright, and he's probably about that age. But it's a vintage John Wright cast iron beer bottle opener. And in this case, I decided to connect it to similar items on WorthPoint so that I can see other ones and what they're selling for on here. And eventually we will be able to keep these updated with a graph that's on your paper, or rather on this page, that you can decide you want to link to and keep values updated. But as I note, I have this in my master bedroom. I keep it by my bed for that bottle of beer when I'm ready to open it. I don't know if we'll have football to watch it with this year. And about when I bought it and what the Worthopedia approximately tells me it's worth. So it's hard to believe a beer bottle opener could be worth $300, but in this case, they're pretty pricey. Now, I've even put in here some of my kids' artwork, and I have to think about where I may have them listed. But there's things that are just, this is a plate that's made of sterling silver that my parents gave me when I graduated from graduate school. And it's nice to keep the memory of this in there. It's not worth a whole lot of money, worth a couple $100. But this was given to me as a gift from my parents on graduating from American University with my master's in 1980. And John Hancock's an indirect relative. And so here you can see it's a picture of John Hancock. And somewhere in here, I have my kids' artwork. I'm trying to put all kinds of things in here that are, and it's going to take me a little while to go around my house and do all this stuff, but here it is. And this is something I really liked that the kids did, and I think it was their second grade class. One of my favorite items that my children painted when in elementary school in Virginia. Of all the things I collect, this is one of my favorites. Now, the other thing that WorthPoint's going to be able to do is a pretty good job of tracking these items over time, whether they're in your collection or not. The neat thing about the vault is you can take it out of the vault, this bin as we call it, and ultimately put it in somebody else's vault. So which is one way of tracking, but WorthPoint late this year will be introducing image recognition, and we're starting with a subset of our maps product, and that every item will be assigned a fingerprint. So not the fingerprints you have on your finger, but a digital image with a fingerprint that will enable you to track that item forever. So each item is unique. It's going to be as good as a picture you're taking. In this case, I wouldn't want the reflection in this picture, but WorthPoint will assign it a digital code with ones and zeros on the image that will be able to recreate that image and track it and keep it in a vault so that you can follow where it went, or you can keep track of it if it's lost or stolen. So it's a good way for identifying an item. So this is kind of cool, but it's where we are at today with our vault. It's there for anybody that's a member to beta it, and that we will be doing some major upgrades and changes to it as we get closer to the launch date. I didn't say that this is designed to be about $10 to $12 a month with a limited set of lookups attached to it. So for those of you that wanted limited lookups, this will be a much more cost-effective way to get into the product, but it will have limited lookups as to what is in here.
This is what I love.
So it looks like these got pretty pricey up in the 2016 timeframe.
So for $175.
Yeah, and I'm a buyer of these. If I could find them for $50, I'd have one in every room. You can see this little guy here. And
this is a great tool, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic.
Lets you compare. I've never seen these before, so it's really interesting.
So it tells you you should buy them if you can find them in the $20 range, and you should be selling if you're above 120. Now, what you want to keep track of is, and I try to tell people that pricing of stuff, that's what I'll call older things, the stuff, it's never an exact science. That there's buyers and sellers, it's where you're at and your access to them. And part of eBay clearly is how well you describe your item, and your definition is key. I've learned I can't do women's clothes. I had Suzanne Woke at Sellhound start doing women's clothes and all clothing for me with the descriptions. It costs about $1.50 an item, and that stuff flies off the shelf when Suzanne does it, but when I do it, it's there forever. And so part of what you get for items is how well you can know it and describe it, and it's good to go in here, and I'd be looking at the descriptions of people that got higher prices, and those are the descriptions I'd be using. And so a lot of times when I sell and I want to start getting my inventory in the vault so I can track it over time and see what I've had and stuff, is that the description is just key. And so you reach the right audience and you can try to get a higher price. Your feedback is also important, so keep that stellar. I'm up to almost 20,000, and although I've had negatives over the 15 years with eBay, I haven't had one in a long time, so it shows as 100% positive. So all those things are worth getting more money for you. If you're in a hurry to sell it, obviously you generally don't get as good a price if you can take your time. There's a truck I listed on eBay last weekend for $800. I had a $475 offer, and I turned it down today because I still think I can get around $800. A toy truck.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is really a cool feature.
Yeah, I've noticed it can be adjusted too, depending on your title.
Yes, I think this is important to keep track of too. Is eventually we're going to let you pick your own similar items and keep track of that trending, and that because a lot of the things that I collect or keep are harder to find comparables of, because I try to find unique stuff, and that's what I buy and sell.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can pick comparables that are even close, the computer's smart enough to help you learn to find other ones.
Yes, and then the other cool thing that I like is being able to share my vault contents with some folks, and others keep them private so that the world cannot view my vault, that it's personal.
Yes. And that's, I think we need, currently we have it, you share it with everybody or nobody. And I want to get selective, and that's one of the enhancements coming, is you'll be able to pick exactly who sees something, whether it's nobody or your Uncle Joe or whomever. But you'll be able to pick who's able to see something and have your own selected audience, just like Facebook.
And the other advantage is when you share it with someone that you've made it public, you could pin it on Pinterest, or you could share it on social media. And if you have it as public, they don't have to be a subscriber to view your vault.
And, we're going to, and that's important too, that because of our auction partners, you'll be able to share things with an auction house and say, hey, I'm interested in selling this. Are you interested in it?
There you go. Yes. That's a great point.
Get a price, and you'll be able to move it to them with the bin, or be able to move it right to eBay or conduct transaction ultimately, starting at our site via an engine like eBay, one of our partners.
That, Will, that's really a brilliant point, because if you have a bunch of items that you want to sell but you're not ready to sell yet, you can start building them in a folder in your vault, and research them at the same time, and then get an idea on value, and then share that vault item with a potential buyer, and you've got all of the breakdown in front of them on the value, so they can't underprice you.
Well, when I clear out of my house here someday, I'm going to list every item in my garage. I'm going to put it in my vault and let people make me offers and just sell it through my eBay account.
Love it.
So it's a way to list without listing.
There you go.
But
okay.
I clicked right to the Worthopedia item that was on my page.
Oh, right. Okay, any final words on the vault?
We've listened to you guys about a lot of your feedback, and this product is a result of things I've envisioned that I want to do with feedback you guys have given us, and we're going to come out with a more limited product set of WorthPoint for the homeowner, but it's going to be featured around saving and preserving your items in your vault. So thanks, Dana.